Hi there, I'm Jim Prues and welcome to this edition of the World 5.0 Weekly Update. The folks in Chelyabinsk, Russia got a huge surprise last week when an asteroid literally descended upon their town of 90,000 people. The object is estimated to have been about 55 feet across with a mass of nearly 10,000 tons when it hit the atmosphere. It exploded with a force of nearly 500 kilotons of TNT, some 30 times the energy released by the Hiroshima atomic bomb. And it happened about 7 miles high in the air. Here's a clip. There were numerous injuries, but no deaths, and lots of broken windows and such. The biggest recovered pieces of the rock so far are about the size of a marble. Here's the tricky part. While scientists are working to prevent a huge asteroid from hitting the planet, little boogers like this, not so much. Damn it. There's a new first vice president in Cuba, Manuel Diaz-Canel. At age 52, he's the first person to occupy that post that did not fight in the revolution. The outgoing first vice president apparently stepped aside to make room for the next generation of Cuban leaders. Diaz-Canel is presumed to be Raul Castro's successor, a prospect made all the more clear by Raul's reiteration that this will indeed be his final term in office, as he promised in 2008 when he began his first full term as president. Castro also endorsed term and age limits for top government officials and insisted that he will press ahead with his reform agenda. 2 of the country's 5 vice presidents are now women, and just 1 leader is from the days of the revolution. If you're a bee having a hard time finding that flower that's just bursting with nectar and pollen, use the force, bee. Use the force. For the first time, scientists have demonstrated that the interaction of charges that can build up naturally on bees and plants plays a role in helping the insects find the best flowers to nourish themselves and the hive. Bees have long been known to use color, shape, patterns, and odor to identify their floral targets. The new study, conducted by researchers at the University of Bristol in Britain, suggests that bees also use electrical cues. Based upon the results of the study, researchers suggest that if bees approach a flower and sense a disturbance in the force, they know another bee has beat them to the blossom. As we're learning that life and this universe are fundamentally electric, I guess this just makes good sense. You know, there are some curious markings to the person who suffers from trauma, the most glaring being their insistence that they don't suffer from trauma. Denial. Another common sign is projection. This means that I accuse another of the very behavior I'm acting out. You disgusting piece of miserable shit. See, there I am accusing you of being shitty when I'm the shitty one. Other artifacts include depression, obsessive behavior, anger and resentment, emotional numbness, and memory lapse. I know, not the Republicans. But let's look at this objectively. Are Republicans in denial? Well, this new Congress seems hell-bent on stopping Obama at every turn, just like the old Congress. Don't they remember who won? Don't they see the arc of history? A convenient bit of denial. What about projection? This crowd is, if nothing else, steady in its partisanship and regressive agenda. And what do they accuse Obama and the Democrats of to no end? Yes, partisanship. Obama's going after the rich, they claim, as though income disparity hasn't been growing since the 1970s. Obama's talking about the climate to put through his liberal agenda. Well, I guess the weather's fine where they live. And like Obama, some bleeding heart liberal? Really? But what about climate chaos deniers pushing through a right-wing corporatist agenda? That's actually amusing, or it would be amusing if this stuff wasn't so important. Of course they're depressed. Seen their single-digit polling? Of course they're obsessive. About women's bodies, for starters. And of course they're angry. That's what Jesus teaches us, isn't it? And of course they're emotionally numb. If you can't work on gun control legislation after those poor kids were murdered in Sandy Hook, or can't appropriate money for folks to eat and stay warm after Hurricane Sandy, there is clearly something wrong. You show symptoms of trauma, in which case you have no business doing the people's business in Washington. Citizens, we may have to help some of these folks find a new career. This year, Cincinnati's bicycle transportation program includes plans to finish more than 2 miles of bike lanes along Riverside Drive. Plans are also in the works to extend the Spring Grove bike lanes from Hopple to Bank Street downtown. And proposals have been drafted for rehabilitation projects along Dalton Street, Bank Street, Western Avenue, and Langdon Farm Road. The city also hopes to continue its design work on the Ohio River Trail, extending bike-friendly paths from Salem to Sutton Road and from Collins Avenue to Corbin Street. The city is also in the early stages of looking to put Ohio's first cycle track on Central Parkway between Ludlow Avenue and Liberty Street. Cycle tracks are defined by having a distinct physical barrier between the bikeway and the regular roadway. Cycle tracks aren't mainstream yet, but in New York City and Washington, D.C., they have quite a few, says Melissa McVeigh, Senior City Planner in the Division of Transportation and Engineering. They're the most family-friendly bike facility you can build. Aw, that's our show. Thank you. How you doing?